Hello.
Did we actually plan to wear pink and blue? It's just
I
weird.
don't think so. I don't think we did plan, but it works.
It works.
We're doing a video here for the Kickstarter of basically 100 science fiction stories, 50 from each of us. We are going to do this in 5 volumes with 20 stories per volume, 10 of my science fiction, 10 of Chris's.
I have no idea how many books there are out in the world that have a shared byline between me and Dean, but quite a few. However, none of them, not a one, is of original fiction. Because long ago and far away, Dean and I discovered that we come up with ideas for stories completely differently. I'll say, hey, there's a guy in a tree. And Dean's like, yeah.
Yeah. So?
And he says, so what do you want to do about it? And I'm like, well, that's enough. And he's like, no, it's not. And then he'll say some long, complicated plot thing. And I'm like, well, write it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, also we were fairly early in our relationship as 2 writers that we decided, oh, we can collaborate. Don't do that. Don't do that. It was bumpy enough early on as it was. It didn't need that stress. We did come out with a way to collaborate. Basically, I would do the short first draft of a novel, usually about like 100 pages, and I would leave out all of the setting and all of the dialogue, and then I'd hand it to Chris and say, good luck. And yep. She would finish. And so when you see a lot of our stuff, sometimes she wrote them, sometimes I wrote them completely. But when you see a lot of our stuff that has a joint byline on a novel, like a Star Trek or an Aliens or X-Men or all of those kinds of things that we did together, that's because I did the first, and she fixed it.
He did the plot, and I colored it.
Yeah.
Put the coloring in. So here we are. We're about to do 5 books with shared bylines. None of these stories will be by Chris and Dean together. Both of them will be having 10 stories of mine and 10 stories of his. When we first came up with this idea, I asked Alison Longoria at WMG Publishing, did we have enough science fiction stories to do this that were already written? And she laughed at me.
Yeah, I asked the exact same question at a different time because I hadn't heard Chris's answer, and she laughed at me too. We have an enormous amount of science fiction. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and
we're both Hugo nominees. I've won the Hugo a couple times. World Fantasy Award winners.
Nebula nominees.
New York
for
Times,
science fiction.
Yep, New York Times bestsellers.
Both of us.
I've been bestseller lists for my science fiction all over the world. So, yeah, we kind of know what we're doing a little bit. But some of the stories that you'll find in these volumes will end up being award winners or award nominees. Some of them are just off the wall. Generally
more mine than hers.
Speaking, if they're off the wall, they're his. And if they're award nominees, they're mine.
That's about right. That's about right.
And it's not because I am more lauded than he is. I just tend to publish in more, shall we say, mainstream publications than he does.
Just basically the idea is that we are 2 very individual writers writing science fiction. And the aspect about both of us is that we write across enormous amounts of areas of science fiction. Everything, every aspect, every subgenre, everything of science fiction, one of us is covered in one form or another. So this is a kind of a masterclass on enormous amounts of types of science fiction and all the subgenres of science fiction. We're not going to talk about that in any introductions. You just get to read them and either enjoy them or go, well, I don't like that kind of science fiction, and move on to the next story. There's going to be 100 science fiction stories in this between the 2 of us, 50 of mine and 50 of Chris's.
We decided to do them for Kickstarter, and we hope that you guys would want the books, and we would hope that you would enjoy reading them.
Yeah, this is something we've talked about off and on for decades and never got around to it.
That's because initially we were talking about throwing in a few collaborative stories.
Yeah. Once that got out of the mix, this became viable.
Yeah.
So we really hope you'll support this and have fun with it too. Enjoy the reading. That's what we're all about. We're entertainers.
So back the Kickstarter.
Anything else?
Thanks.
Back the Kickstarter?
Yeah, back
okay.
the Kickstarter.
Back the Kickstarter. Yeah, don't forget to do that.